our invitation, and please accept once again my apologies for changing the time. We are supposed to be here at 9, but I realized yesterday that these guys had arranged me to appear at 2 meetings around the same time, and I could not make a photocopy of myself, so I asked them if Balezulanga could kindly ask you to change the time to 11, and I'm very grateful that a good number of you were able to do that. So we are going to have a conversation on what the acting ES said on the draft vision document that we have shared with you and all Tanzanians. And let me say that we have received overwhelmingly a lot of comments from all groups of Tanzanians, very useful comments indeed, which we believe that the final version is going to be much more improved. So let me say a few words in terms of what we are trying to think in this roadmap in a few minutes so that I give you time. What we know at the moment, Tanzania is largely rural, but this is going to change in the next, not 25 years, actually in the next 10 years. There will be a big movement from being a largely rural, agricultural, and informal dominated economy to what is evidently majority urban, and therefore, which means that formal employment becomes much more important, and that is going to be the key issue. So, what we are envisioning here is an upper middle income country, which is very ambitious. But yesterday, 2 days ago, I met a group of businessmen and women, only a small group of around 7 to 8 people. And they were telling me, this is very less ambitious. If we are able to do this over the past 25 years, where there was no internet, there was no mobile phones, there was no artificial intelligence, there was nothing basically. I think we need to be much more ambitious. So they gave me a little bit of hope that we have not dreamed going to the moon very much. So 3 main targets that we think is critical: the upper middle income country by 2050. And the initial idea is to create an economy of $700 billion. But actually, I've met a couple of business people in this country, local ones. They're telling me, Kitila, we should think of at least a $1 trillion economy by 2050. And they believe that is possible. And we think that Tanzania should be possible to enjoy healthy and happy lifespan expectancy of 75 years. We started in 2000, around 52. Now is 68 women and 64 men. 3, we think it should be possible in the next 25 years to eradicate extreme poverty so that fewer than 5% of our population lives below the poverty line. So, what we see, it means that we really have to work very hard in terms of what we are going to do with the urban population, which they are living in slums and informal settlements, and therefore this has to fall. Right now, the urban slums, informal settlements, is around 40%. Is it possible to take it down to 10%, especially that urban is going to be the main residence of the majority of Tanzanians in the next 25 years? Is it possible to create an economy whereby at least half of Tanzanians are employed in the formal sector with a contract and, of course, social security benefits? Is it possible to create an economy where female labor force participation rises to the same level as men by 2050? Is it possible to create an economy where the manufacturing value added per capita rises from USD 100 to at least USD 1,000, and where agricultural value addition becomes a reality, so that we are able to create an agricultural-based economy from $15 billion to
to at least $45 billion. Is it possible to have an economy where Tanzania becomes energy efficient with per capita energy consumption of at least 600 kilowatts per hour from today's, which is less than 200? Where is it possible to have an economy where the percentage of young people raises, those that who are developmentally on track, we are able to raise from 47% of the current value to around 90%. And is it possible to create an economy where the mean years of schooling rises from the current 6 to at least 10? I think this is important. So in terms of, you will see that in terms of the priority intervention areas, we are talking about economic governance, urban management, what we are calling transformative sectors, investment in growth, trade and logistics, energy, and human capital. And here on the human capital, I wanted to emphasize, we believe that a dedicated focus on early childhood education development becomes critical, so that early preparation of life, education, and everything else starts a little bit earlier, with, of course, raising the quality of education outcomes at all levels. And this is summarized in a figure that we shared with you. So these are some of the big things that we're trying to propose in the vision. We'll be very happy to receive your critical comments so that we can produce a roadmap. This is barely a roadmap which is going to govern the development plans for this country for the next 25 years. So I look forward to a productive engagement. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we avoided to do the introduction to okay. So we avoided to do the introduction because we thought the group is quite large. So, but when you're making your comments, can you please begin by introducing yourself and which institution you're coming from? I think that will be helpful. And you give me your guidance. Do you have some prepared presentation per group, or we just go randomly, individual by individual? Do we have any pre-prepared kind of presentation? No, so we just go randomly then, group by group. So just raise up your hands. George, so karibuni sana for comments. I will begin in front and then we shall be going. I can assure that we have enough time. Everybody who wants to speak will be able to speak. No problem. So please.
Thank you very much. And just to kick off the discussions, at least on the development partner side, I think we wanted to appreciate the opportunity for this consultation and really appreciate the process thus far that has really allowed partners to offer their insights to Vision 2050. And perhaps as we start now, considering the size of the room, Honorable Minister, and considering that most just came back from vacation a few days ago, if you can allow us after this discussion to be able to send some written comments, perhaps that would be useful to the group to make sure that we don't leave anything out of today.
Sure. I mean, we have extended. Initially, we were to end this process on 18th of January, but we have extended up to the first week of February. So we'll be able to. We shall be very happy to receive your written comments.
Wonderful. Thanks for that. For that comment. Oh, and Kemi is mentioning that I should introduce myself. Yes. My name is Susan Gongi Namondo, and I'm the incoming UN resident coordinator here in Tanzania. And I'm in this meeting as one of the co-chairs of the Development Partners Group. And the second co-chair will introduce herself. Perhaps just two other small comments before we go to the more substantive comments. I think one is just that I think we cannot have, this is the first time that I'm here, and I understand that to get us to this point, the former executive secretary really played an important role. and just to, on behalf of the entire family, to express our heartfelt condolences. We really recognize the contributions he made. And looking ahead, Honorable Minister, you mentioned this, while still open for comments, as a roadmap to guide, and really looking forward to the next steps that we will really tease out the operationalization of this document and making sure that, we put in place all that is necessary plan-wise, etc., to ensure that we achieve the vision come 25 years, and who knows, exceed the achievement of the vision, because we have so much more available to us today that we did not have previously. So I'll leave it at that, Mads. Would you like to come in?
Sure. Asante sana. Naitwa Max Gaynor, ni naibu balozi katika balozi wa Ireland. So I'm also the other co-chair of the Development Partners Group. And yes, also thanks for the opportunity. There's a lot of experts in the room, so I won't get into specific, but just to say we found the document really excellent, like a really good document, very thoughtful, some very frank assessments in some areas that are very welcome, and the strong focus on inclusion and resilience and sustainability. It really, I very much enjoyed reading it. One substantive comment I would have is that the vision for Tanzania as a regional actor and as a global actor could probably be lifted higher into its own section, because at the moment it sits under economy, but there's points in there that go beyond economy. So I thought that would benefit. And there's many aspects within trade. The opportunities for regional trade could probably be emphasized a little bit more. And then just, it's difficult in this document, but maybe in the next, in the long-term perspective plan, just to consider whether there might be some tensions within some of the objectives and how they might be resolved as we go forward, so that the 5-year development plans can really take into account some of the risks or trade-offs of all the different objectives. So, mining with sustainability and natural resources, or some of the land issues, or the points on what they were called. What were the two terms? There was a term on self-reliance, a self-reliant country, and there was another one, a national ethos. And maybe just to unpack what they mean, and then, are there tensions between that and being a member of a regional group, or between the national ethos and some of the points on inclusion? So I will stop there, because there are many brilliant brains in the group, but asante sana.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Kemi?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Happy New Year to all members of the High Table. My name is Kemi Williams. I'm Deputy High Commissioner and Head of Development Cooperation at the British High Commission. So a few comments from us, very much in keeping with those already made, actually. First of all, just to welcome the focus on 3 overarching themes, pillars. It's very well structured, very well prioritised, and we especially welcome the inclusion of climate change. Really also great to see that lessons learned from 2025 are reflected in 2050 and very much sort of building on the excellent progress that was made in the last 25 years. Also good to see the recognition of challenges as well as opportunities, challenges including population growth, urbanisation, geopolitical uncertainty, but also which shows that it's underpinned by excellent analysis. I think in keeping with the point that Mags previously made, I think it's also useful to see how you will balance the ambition, which is very well noted, and I think an excellent way of setting out, because I mean a vision needs to be very ambitious, and it is for 25 years, but balancing that with ensuring that the the milestones, the targets are measurable. The 5-year development plan, the 1-year development plan are all something that enable the vision to be implemented and for those aspirations to be achieved. In terms of maybe some more specifics, the demographic challenge does come through, but maybe a focus, more sort of clearer focus on jobs, particularly for young people, jobs for youth would be welcome. With so many young people entering the labour force, it will be central to the success of the vision. So helpful if that comes through a bit more strongly throughout. And in keeping with Mag's point about the regional value add of Tanzania, migration could be a positive. So expected flows of internal and external migration could be more clearly explained. There's lots to be gained for the economy and human capital development of inward and outward flows, particularly in terms of jobs, skills, remittances, etc. And then finally, just to say that we'd really appreciate, we particularly appreciate the timings for this are very tight. So great to see there has been so much consultation, not just with DPs, but with a wide range of stakeholders. So if it's possible for the long-term plan and the 5-year development plan to be developed, particularly in terms of ensuring that we're clear of the next steps and the stages involved, encourage prioritisation, and I know that you need to get the parliamentary process sign off for this, so it'd be useful to see what the roadmap for achieving that is and how we might be able to help as development partners. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move to the next step. Yes, please.
Hello, good morning, Honorable Minister and all protocol observed. My name is Mitra. I'm Program Specialist, UNMN. Yes, so this vision is good. There are many areas is covered, but what our main objective, the inclusiveness. So only then we can go forward. So what I found, instead of what we have the attributes, positivity, but at the same time we should talk about some of the issues. So across the pillar I found some in-depth analysis, cross-sectionality we have to strengthen. For example, one example, we is well educated, that is pillar number 2, and skilled learning security in society. So nowadays even definition is changing. So we have good literacy rate, but it's not only nowadays literacy, it's also like internet connectivity, also AI. So we have to focus in different dimensions. Then we have to find out, because if we cannot tap these issues, we cannot have a proper vision to way forward. Because if you see our internet connectivity, still it is 1/3 is 31%. So this way, and we can little bit tap some of the areas like rural areas. So because they are how we can ensure they should contribute in our development process. And also what I found little bit more about gender analysis, because our population more than 50% are women, so somewhere we should have at least little bit about gender analysis. And also what I found, because nowadays evidence-based policy we are talking, so we have to use more data. And what our experience, all the policy documents what we are preparing, like PNR, gender policy, we found when we are going to analyze the data, there is lack of data is there, but it's not presented in it. So somewhere in development and research, we should focus how to ensure that proper evidence is there. So when you're pointing some comment that we are good, then at least some places. And we are looking forward when we see the KPI, key performance indicator. We are happy to be part of the process, and that is one of the critical areas, how we monitor the indicators. So something we have to ensure that it should be disaggregated and monitored in a proper way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karibu.
Good afternoon, Mr. Minister. Thank you so much for offering this opportunity. My name is Craig Hart with USAID. This is a great, wonderful, inspiring vision, so much so that I have put it on my calendar to return to Tanzania in 25 years. Because this is going to be a great place, even more great. So thank you so much for the inspiration. I think you've got a lot of wonderful and aggressive targets here. I think per Mag's point in terms of being frank on things, it is inspiring as well. So each time, when you all have provided in this document a reference to GBV and the figures, a reference to how many women are parliamentarians, those are the things that actually give just as much inspiration as do the targets that are being referenced. And so I really appreciate those inclusive numbers and those data points, because they illustrate also, I think, priorities. And so much in that same way, I think utilizing and enhancing the document would entail increasing the number of those data points. When it comes to private sector, I think that would be a wonderful time to put that out there, because the document clearly states where Tanzania wants to be in 2050 in terms of the top 3 of enabling environment. It would be great to actually acknowledge where we stand now. Much the same is in terms of the issue of good governance and other issues throughout the documents. I think that would really inspire even more so than sometimes the ultimate vision that is inspiring. But putting those two things together would both indicate a prioritization, but also a very clear frankness that I think is really refreshing. So thank you for that. Finally, I think in 2050, if we're looking back at this document, one of the things that's really difficult to anticipate is the information technology component. Yeah. You have a section that's clearly in here. I just wonder to what degree it actually needs to graduate up to a strategic consideration. Because in retrospect, looking 25 years back, that has been my experience, that most of the changes that have happened over the last 25 years, boy, I could never anticipate. Yeah. And I have a feeling that the speed at which this is happening might justify it being graduated up a level somehow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
How that the microphone is on this table,
yes,
just proceed with my comment. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and let me also add my voice to congratulate the drafting team and your office for this well thought through draft Vision 2050. I'm especially excited to see the environment and climate change on its own pillar. My name is Clara Makenya. I'm the head of UNEP for Tanzania, United Nations Environment Program.
Thank you.
So that explains why I'm excited to see environment and climate integrity on its own pillar. Just to continue with the same momentum in recognition of this very critical pillar and how it contributes to either we achieve the ambitions for the development or not. I would like just to highlight the point that in the midst of many other competing sectors and obvious sectors for development, the pillars aspirations might fall through the cracks when it comes to resource allocations and budget. And so I had this proposal for the Vision 2050 document to already consider integrating this pillar to the other pillars. For example, in the fiscal tools, so already considering a tax framework, for example, that would encourage environmental sustainability, would encourage, climate resilience, and also would contribute in some of the aspirations that are already in the pillar. Because if we are putting a tax framework that would, consider, pollution and polluter pays principle, for example, or even looking at the circular economy, automatically will kind of build on, a population that is, pollution-conscious society. That is an aspiration that is within the environment pillar. So we don't necessarily, not necessarily allocating the budget for this aspiration, but from the other angle, from the fiscal tools and tax frameworks, we are already addressing some of these areas that might face the consequence of not having enough resources for the aspirations. So thank you very much, and I believe we will continue with this, we will share these written comments.
Sure, thank you very much. Next, please. There is a hand from the World Bank, and then
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Waziri. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to my fellow development partners. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to engage with you. My name is Nathan Baletti from the World Bank. I think, as many have said, this is quite an impressive document. It's an ambitious document, and we can always make it more ambitious, but I think you've made a great effort at trying to ensure that all the key aspects are covered. If you allow, I would like to just make 5 points, more from the perspective of emphasizing, and start out with a preamble that, I think Tanzania's future is really great because of its macro Minister. I think an emphasis on the quality of education and the important role that will have fundamentally in transforming the economy is super important. The third point is on social protection. I think the ability of a country to really grow in an inclusive manner is directly linked to how social protection is really covered. And as you know, many of us are quite actively involved with you on this, but I think the sustainability of financing for social protection is a real concern, and I know one concern of the government, so just wanted to highlight that. The fourth is on climate change. We commend you for the efforts that you've made on trying to integrate this. I think one thing that we would emphasize is that there approach on this. This is not just something that needs to be done in a couple of key productive sectors, but across the board, as my colleague from UNEP said. The last point I think that's really important to emphasize is I don't think the document does enough on building on the role Tanzania has in terms of regional integration agenda. I think this is a huge opportunity that Tanzania has, and I think a lot more emphasis on particularly the trade dimensions would be super important, that are aligned with your public investment program. So I just wanted to highlight those. And again, congratulations to the whole ministry for your efforts on this and for engaging us throughout from the beginning.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you very much. There was a hand within that table, eh? Yes, from the lady.
Great. Thanks. I very much appreciate the process of being consulted on the plan. I'm Carol Mundell from the Canadian High Commission. Great to see you again, Minister. And we found the document to be incredibly comprehensive and, as Craig mentioned, very motivating and inspiring in terms of the future for Tanzania. I won't repeat some of what the other folks mentioned. I think just 2 quick comments from our perspective. One, just perhaps a bit of a teasing out a bit more of that, how to calibrate the tension between the demographic bulge as well as the service provision and demands on government going forward in that respect. And I would say a second element would be really how to, I think gender equality is really as an accelerator for Tanzania, and I think we'd like to I think there's benefit in looking at across every sector what is needed in terms of the barriers, to address the barriers, and what's needed in terms of the strategies. If this is going to be the document that guides all ministries, I think it would be useful to sort of see a greater integration of gender across every single sector: financial services, agriculture, the education. Obviously, there's a lot being done now, but that was the one comment we would provide. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. Before we get out of that table, I think there was a hand also from the lady. Yes.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, and again, just to underscore the points that have been made earlier and to appreciate the opportunity to provide inputs. I think mine is very brief and it actually builds very nicely on the comment made by the World Bank. I'm sorry, I'm Melissa McNeil Barrett, UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund. And thanks again for the opportunity. So my comment is linked to the point on the demographic dividend. And of course, we know that the issue of the demographic dividend and the issue of demographics is critical for Tanzania at this point in time. And I think the document speaks very eloquently to that, including the large youthful population. And we've spoken of the importance of quality education in terms of achieving that demographic dividend. And the other component I wanted to suggest that we emphasize a bit more is on the health component. And so we've spoken in health about the emphasis on non-communicable diseases and disease prevention. And I would also want to suggest that we put some additional emphasis on the importance of investing in reproductive, maternal, newborn, adolescent, and child health. And it is very important within the context of, we talk about fertility levels in particular, and that is one of the elements outlined in the document around, ensuring that women, for example, have access to opportunities, information, services that will allow them to better plan their families, better space the number of births, and this is critical to fertility reduction. When we talk about investments in young people and ensuring that they are able to live up to their full potential, it means ensuring that they have access to this reproductive health information and services to prevent unintended pregnancies and the complications that sometimes accompany unintended pregnancies. And we know sometimes maternal deaths, we have 20% among young people. And so the point is that ensuring that investment in reproductive health, adolescent health, is going to be key in terms of that health investment. And so the suggestion is to perhaps elaborate and amplify that point as one of the key components under the health section, in addition to the discussions around non-communicable diseases, etc. So we have some additional comments which we'll be happy to share in writing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, please. Okay, yes.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Paula Felipe. I represent IFC, and I echo my colleague Nathan's comments on his commendations to the government on a well-drafted Vision 2050 plan. I just wanted to add more points relating to the private sector. We wanted to emphasize the need to support continued access to finance through partnerships with financial institutions, and seeing that the financial sector is a channel to the economy. And so through partnerships with key financial institutions, we can continue to develop innovative and appropriate products to reach underserved segments such as SMEs, such as the agri-sector, the rural sector, and also promoting climate finance. And in many cases, leveraging on technology. There's a lot of mention about AI and advances in digitization, which could help improve the delivery of financial services to these underserved segments. Also important to highlight on gender and inclusivity. So much has been said about diversification benefits, but also through our experience in IFC, we've seen that servicing women, especially from the financial sector, is also good business. So beyond social equality perspective, it can be seen as a way to drive profitability as well. So how we can incentivize the private sector to pursue and include women from both a social and commercial perspective. It's important also for us to continue supporting a regulatory environment that provides predictability and stability, so that all of these initiatives have a way to effectively engage the private sector to participate. Considering the significant role of SMEs in the economy, we're prepared to support plans for privatization, especially for those which are operating in competitive sectors. And throughout all of this, in terms of measuring success and how success would look like, would suggest to have some specific metrics that articulate and report on the private sector initiatives. And finally, there's been a lot said in the document about gaps in capacity building and knowledge, and IFC together with the World Bank are prepared to support bridging these gaps and addressing them in order for the country to fulfill the objectives of this vision. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, can we bring the microphone here, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Hitoshi Ara from JICA, Chief Representative. And at first, I'd like to also show my respect for Planning Commission work for preparing the document. And my comment is that at Pillar 1, so I'm very impressed that you are talking about the importance of the business environment and investment climate. And I also very impressed by your selection of the transformative sectors. And but this is my impression. When we read through the content of the strategy of the transformative sectors, it is still some kind of, my impression is that the government initiative. And I think it is very important in each sector development to think about how you utilize private sectors and how you develop the environment so that every private sector can work effectively and efficiently. Thank you very much. This is my comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Camilla Dannevig from the Norwegian Embassy, Deputy Head of Cooperation. We also thank you for this opportunity to consult, to have this consultancy, sorry, this meeting for consultations. No, I'm sorry, but I will of course repeat a little bit what some of my colleagues here have said, but these are the priorities that we want to mention now, but we also appreciate the opportunity to give some more input, written input later. We welcome this, the ambition and direction of the Tanzania 2050 development vision. It aims to continue the high economic growth while striving to make it more inclusive and sustainable, thereby securing a prosperous future when no one is left behind. In this, we would like to highlight 3 areas. First, we believe that the role of the private sector, trade and regional integration is crucial for job creation and raise domestic revenue and industrialize for a higher value added and surplus for Tanzania and partners. And for Tanzania to achieve its ambitious target of increasing economy to $700 billion, it will be key to move ahead swiftly with strategic investments projects, such as, for instance, the liquefied natural gas project, to enable a higher economic growth and growing domestic resource mobilization. Secondly, climate change resilience will be key to reach the Vision's 2050 targets. Scaling up sustainable practices through clean cooking, renewable energy, and together with climate-smart agriculture and commodity compacts should be part of the solution. And third and last, we encourage Tanzania to increase its investment in human capital, including strategic actions within family planning, education, health and social protection to reduce the dependency ratio and react to the demographic dividend in an effective manner. Norway and Tanzania have been good partners since independence, and we look forward to continue this partnership as Tanzania continues the exciting journey outlined in this Vision 2050. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, please, go ahead.
So the microphone stays around here.
Yeah.
Honourable Minister, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure also joining colleagues in really commending you for the effort that you have done with this document. I think it's really ticks most boxes that you would expect to see. So in that sense, really happy to see that product. I'm not like Craig, I'm not sure I'm going to come back in 25 years. I hope to come back earlier to see what's going on. But the thing is that honestly, the document is very good, and I don't want to insist in repeating a lot of things which I could subscribe to already, but I would like to insist on 2. I think the first one is the one you mentioned.
Asking your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, of course. My name is Holger Tausch, I'm the Deputy Head of Mission and Head of Cooperation for Switzerland. Sorry for that, yes. And I just wanted to insist that I think the regional role of Tanzania sort of as a whole, I mean, building really on the demographic dividend that you have is going to be probably more important than perhaps is written today in this vision. I think that's something to be thought of perhaps a bit further down the road. And the other thing I think you also insisted, while it then gets into the implementation of this vision and the different steps and different plans that you have in mind, you mentioned very strongly the evidence-based part, and I think that's something our community certainly adheres to very strongly. And I think that's something that really should guide us also as we move forward. And the question here that I have, and maybe that's not necessarily an answer required at this stage, is how are you going to do this? What's the roadmap? And I think it was already asked by other colleagues. What's the roadmap for these different plans to come aboard? And how do you intend to build the baselines that you need to measure what's happening on the ground? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Yes, you can take the mic there.
Thank you very much. I'll start with my name. Ronald Tranberry from the World Food Program. I arrived 4 months ago, but I was there 20 years ago and 10 years ago, so I've seen the impressive trajectory, and I'm seeing that this document very much is continuing and emphasizing them. So congratulations for what's already been achieved and for the vision going forward. Just 4 little points. Of course, I come from the World Food Program, so of course I'll say the critical importance of the agricultural sector, the potential it has, both internally in terms of contribution to GDP, but also in terms of youth employment, but also regionally. I mean, Tanzania already has a breadbasket, but it can become a bigger breadbasket for the region. We know this very well because we, at the World Food Program, purchase a lot of local commodities that are actually used in our operations in the region. So there is a huge potential, both internally and externally. Climate, I mean, I think a lot of colleagues talked about both, I think, the adaptation, the preparedness piece. On the adaptation, it's about all the public works, not only the hard ones, but also a little bit of the soft ones, if I may, and all the preparedness piece in terms of, all of those climate shocks coming, and happy to be working with you on this. Which brings us a little bit to the social protection, which my colleague of the World Bank talked about it. I know you're reworking on the new policy, but working with you to make sure that those social protection are actually shock responsive and have an adaptive component, so that actually those social protection systems and safety nets can respond to the shocks. And the last thing, and my colleague talked about, was the demographic dividend. And of course, there's a huge demographic dividend that's actually possible. One of the elephants in the room is, however, the high levels of malnutrition. And we know very well that with high levels of malnutrition, etc., our kids don't grow up to their full potentials, etc. So I think that is very much a piece. I think that we would be very happy to work with you and would like to see mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please. The media guys, you are making not see the hands behind you. Yes, so. Okay. Yes, please. Bring the mic. Okay.
I'm looking, we're no longer at good morning, so good afternoon, Honorable Minister and colleagues. My name is Elke Wish, I'm the UNICEF representative to Tanzania, and want to echo all my colleagues in congratulating the government for a well-developed document and a very strategic and very ambitious vision. And please continue to count on all of our support, of course, to move this forward. So let me preface the comments by saying that, of course, Tanzania has made remarkable progress in terms of many of the child development indicators, so congratulations for that. We would hope to see this vision contribute to continued progress on child survival, obviously. I think it was already referenced, and we see this well, of course, articulated in the health focus. It would be critical, and my colleague from WFP highlighted that we also emphasize a bit more in both the health elements as well as under the early childhood component, the importance of nutrition. It is referenced, of course, in terms of access to nutritious food, but as we know, for children, it's not only about access, it's about actually making sure that they consume it. And coming back to the critical change makers, transformers, deliverers, change agents, whatever you want to call them, that the 50% or almost 50% of the Tanzanian population that are under 18 will be obviously in delivering this Vision 2050. We very much appreciate obviously the focus on the importance of access to quality education, the importance of highlighting the skills and then linking to the job market and employment opportunities. It would be important in this important focus to maybe show again a bit the difference. That's a rather large cohort you have there. When you look at youth, which goes all the way up to the age of 35, which is roughly 70%, so that's an important cohort of the population. Noting that within that up to 35 cohort, you have almost 50% that are under 18. So lumping it all together as young people may then get lost a little bit, or youth. We appreciate again that there is a strong focus on early childhood education primarily, but really taking a differentiated look. We know we can already lose all of that potential in the first 1,000 days of life, including in the mother's womb, if the nutrition is not there, because that's when the brain is developed. So if we start with the investment only when we get to school age and skills, we've already lost. So we do have to make sure when it comes to all these difficult choices, the tensions, the prioritization, and juggling all of this. And so having said that, even if I understand correctly, in both the English language and in Kiswahili, there's differences between youth, and the Kiswahili word for youth doesn't necessarily cover watoto, so I think we should have a bit more reference to that in there, both in the vision statement in terms of what needs to be prioritized, but importantly also in maybe more highlighting more clearly that they will be, along with women, who are half of the population, will be the key deliverers, and how they will be the agents that will help Tanzania achieve all this potential. So many other comments have been made. We are supporting what our colleagues have said, but just to limit to those two for the moment. Thank you. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Asante sana.
Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. My name is Johan Lehtinen from the Embassy of Finland, and also I would like to thank you for this occasion, and also to congratulate the National Planning Commission and the Government of Tanzania for this excellent draft vision. And I risk repeating some of the things that have been said already, but I wish to emphasize or to repeat that this plan, in our view, is ambitious, it's well justified, and it's very honest in its analysis and very balanced. Especially we would like to commend that the way the vision addresses the questions related to inclusivity, gender equality, and the growing inequalities in the society. And we think that the vision provides an excellent basis for strong development in Tanzania. The key question really will be that how to put this vision in practice, that how to turn the aspirations into concrete action, and also the question on how to guarantee the strong commitment of all the stakeholders to this vision. As a more detailed comment, it would be very good to see in the next steps, especially as part of the good governance section, the fight against corruption being unpacked a bit more in the document. The corruption as a challenge, it's also lacking in the analysis in the chapter concerning the business, the enabling business and investment environment. But we think that the vision provides an excellent basis for partnerships as well, and we are very, very happy and honored to continue as strong partners with Tanzania as Finland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think this issue. Karibu.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Hongereni sana for this well-developed, well-written document. My name is Nyabeli Tipo. I'm the FAO representative here. I'm so, impressed to see that one of the sectors, transformative sector, is agriculture. And knowing that agriculture in Tanzania is mostly led by small-scale farmers, I think the work that we all do with government is to ensure that they're well equipped with technologies, with all the necessary information, and that's what actually they did. However, I also feel that looking at the private sector is very key to expand the work of agriculture if you want to meet the food self-sufficiency and to become the hub for food security in the region. A lot has been mentioned in the document, and including technologies, extension and all that, but I would love to see more clarity on which technologies are being addressed. How can agriculture tap into the existing digital technology which is existing now and which is developing and evolving. I'm happy to see the land mapping in the targets, which includes the agriculture land, but it's important to also link it to the sector in more clear terms so that there is, the land is not compromised when you expand the agriculture sector. It's good to see, you mentioned that in the future we look at more urbanization and more migration, knowing that production is done at the rural level. What strategies is the vision looking at to reverse this or to at least limit the migration from rural areas to urban areas so that we can continue with productivity in the rural settings? I think it's all in all, I think I'm just so impressed by the document, and it's important to ensure that the agri-food system transformation is well articulated in the document. Thank you.
Asante sana.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Salmons. I'm the head of cooperation of the European Union in Tanzania. I'm also brand new. So for me, to be here with you with a new vision for my next 4 years in this country is really convenient. So like the others, I think that it is important to congratulate you and your team for the good quality of this vision. At the same time, this vision is really ambitious, realistic, honest and clear, which is really difficult to have together. And for me in particular, the structure is really clear. So the ambition for Tanzania is to become a middle-income country in 25 years. This is an economical target, but of course with human being consequences. And to do so, you should multiply by 4 within 25 years the GDP per inhabitant, which is a huge challenge. Speaking about the challenges, I think that the vision is mentioning honestly all those challenges that are in the way for the next 25 years. I will just mention climate change, urbanization, demography, the role of women and youth also, and the importance of women and youth, and the importance of institutional strengthening in the country. And to reach the objective, I think that there is an obligation to open the natural resources of this country to external investors. And there is another obligation, of course, for the population, and to reach the target of multiplying by 4 the GDP per habitant, is to oblige those external investors to transform in this country. This being said, now to come to my suggestion and remarks, it will be relating to Pillar 1 essentially. Maybe the vision on Pillar 1 is, should include also more strongly the necessity of transparency, accountability in the taxation reform. The vision should also, in my mind, encourage banks to adopt more risk, entrepreneurial risk for private investment in the future, being local or external. We should find a way also to reduce discretionary powers within the administration by automation, for example. There could be a more clear strategy on trade promotion, And finally, the necessary public reform could be also clarified, focusing on agility, accountability, and merit-based recruitment. Very last comment, maybe on Pillar 3. Reading the document, women and youth are considered rather as passive victims of the situation than really actors. And of course, it's not the case. It has been mentioned the importance of the youth and the importance of women, especially taking into account those important subjects as being the climate change, water resources, and land tenure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hello, cooperation. You have come timely.
Good afternoon, Honourable Minister. My name is Lise Appelgaard-Sørensen. I'm the Deputy Head of Mission at the Danish Embassy. I'll be brief. I think everything has been said, or not everything, but a lot has been said already. Just want to express also our gratitude for seeing this document. It's incredibly important for us as not a new embassy because we've been here for the past 60 years, but we are kind of rethinking the way we are operating in Tanzania and not least with Tanzania. And that's also really what my message is about, that this is an important document for us. We have the positive economic outlook. We do not shy away from talking about that in Denmark. We will not shy away from talking about this document. I think together they are important, the important messages also when we engage with partners in Denmark. With the new engagement with Tanzania, we are also looking more for international partnerships. We're not just looking at development partnerships. So it's also about the political dialogue, it's about the foreign direct investments, the trade going both ways. That's what we want to invest in. So I'll be keen also to see perhaps more on the regional perspectives, because when we talk about Tanzania 50 years from now, it's of course the development in Tanzania, it's being a middle-income country, but it would be interesting, seen from our perspective also, where are we as a regional player, as a global player, when we talk about the international partnerships, multilateral engagement, because I think Tanzania has a lot to offer, and I think it goes hand in hand with the development in the country and the interest also to invest in Tanzania. So that's my really brief. We'll be happy to come with some comments in writing also. I was incredibly happy to read the document, and we are very happy to also work together with Tanzania in moving this forward. And then just finally, and I don't expect an answer today, but I'm just curious also to hear from the people who have been drafting this and from the strong group behind the document, all the consultations, if there are any, like, is there anything new coming up from the consultations? What is it the Tanzanians say themselves? Because we can sit in this room and have conversations about the more technical things. I'm just curious to hear, what is it the common Tanzanian think about this document? It could be private sector, it could be civil society, but it could also be a Tanzanian in Iringa. Where is it we are heading in the years to come? Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Professor Simboja, do you want to respond to that question straight away? I think that you may wish to reflect a bit on that particular question, I think.
Yeah, we are currently doing validation, but let me start with how the process was. We actually, it has been a very consultative process through either telephones, either surveys, either household surveys, and so on and so forth. Consultations in, what do we call conferences, covering all groups in society. And basically, what is contained here is what Tanzanians said. Of course, we do analysis of what they say, but basically it's Tanzanians saying this is what we want. This is including actually what we call foundation is what Tanzanians wanted to be foundation, what we call pillars is what Tanzanians wanted to be pillars, and so on and so forth. So now after the draft has been basically made, we're doing validation. You know, does this reflect what you say? And so what we're doing today is what we have been actually doing since the document was launched in Zanzibar. Was it a month ago? So we are in this process going back to basically the same Tanzanians and asking them, is this reflecting what you told us? And what you are saying is basically what they are saying, and you know, certainly they are picking one or two things that need to be either included, but generally quite happy with the document so far. And we're very happy that we don't have to go back to the drawing board. I hope this is enough.
Yes. So I think that is how it is. I think just adding a sentence there by saying that I think Tanzanians are very optimistic of their country. They are very optimistic. This is what we gather when we go around. Compared to even when I read comments from other countries, how they view their own country, I think Tanzanians are much more, actually far more optimistic about their country. The second thing is that they see the country as having far more bigger potential than what we have been able to do. I think that we can do far more better. This is what is really coming out from what we hear, and especially from young people. I think this is particularly the case, which is very encouraging. I think they are very optimistic, they are very energetic. I think they this is extremely very important for them. They want education to really be good, to ensure that they are able to compete, not just here, but also regionally as well as globally. So, yeah. Further comments, please? Come on, there is a hand here, please. So don't worry, I will close the next 10 minutes and then we shall have some winding up remarks. Don't worry.
So just a suggestion, Honorable Minister, if no further substantive comments, perhaps we could talk about timelines for comments, when it will be most useful to receive them by. And I know you touched briefly about the operationalization process. What next? So if you could spend a few minutes on that, I think it would be useful.
Maybe I just go through that. I wanted to say that at the last, but let me say it. So, as this process is going on, first of all, we have learned in the previous vision. What happened in the current vision is that we produced the vision in 2000. This is when we started implementing. Without the operational plan, consequently, the implementation of that particular vision was delayed for almost 10 years. So effectively, we started implementing that vision in 2010, when we prepared the long-term plan perspective. So what we have done now, as immediately as the document was launched on 11th of last month and last year, what we did was to also launch at the same time a parallel team to begin preparing a long-term plan perspective. So as we speak, there is a very big team from different sectors, from the government and the private sector, working local and international, working on the long-term perspective plan. So the two documents, they will have to be launched together in around November, depending on the president's schedule, but they will be launched together. So that is what is going on right away. So that team is going to engage you collectively, but also individually. They will be coming to you because we are also working with different international organizations in this process, which in my view is much more important because that is where we are trying to translate the vision. So it is a critical process, and we want it to be much more engaging and consultative with a variety of stakeholders. But this one is a bit technical, so it's not going to be like what we have done for the vision going around. We will be engaging strategic stakeholders, both local and international, and we are very grateful that actually a good number of you are already part of the process, but we are going to engage you even more. So in terms of the timeline, so this particular exercise, so we are closing on Monday in terms of these public hearings. We will proceed with receiving written comments. So I think by the end of the day, the ES should be able to provide you with an effective email address where you can submit your comments, and that should be from today up to 19th. So we have the whole of next week. You can submit your comments so that on 20th, the committee or the team wants to consolidate all these comments and reflect on the document, because we want the document to be ready for government approval processes by 10th of February. Then we shall end the current process. We'll begin a government approval process, which is again quite lengthy also, up the level of the cabinet. So we expect by end of February, beginning of March, to close the government approval process. What will follow thereafter will be the parliamentary approval process. The parliament is going to begin in April, and it's going to run up to June, 3 months. So we expect this document to be deliberated by the parliament around April, May. So the president is expected to launch this vision by end of May, beginning of June. But in any case, before the parliament dissolves, as you know, the parliament is going to dissolve by 30th June. That's the end of the current parliament. And I want to ensure that, God willing, this exercise ends before I go to seek my re-election in my constituency. Which is this one where I'm seated. This is my constituency. So that is the timeline we have. A bit really very tight, but we are very thankful that so far we have been able to move within the schedule, and we hope that the remaining parts are going to, we shall be able to meet the deadlines we have. I'm very grateful for the team. Professor Semboja has not been with his family for the last 1 year. Yeah, so that is how the timeline begins. So please, we ask you to cooperate with us for the remaining parts, especially the technical process, the consultation, providing your technical inputs, and I'm sure the ES will also be approaching you for the financial support, because the remaining part is even hugely expensive. We have a big team. They are locked somewhere for the next 90 days, so it's a bit quite an expensive undertaking process, and we are very grateful that you colleagues will be able to support us in this process, so that we produce a document which is going to be a guiding plan even for yourself. When you are cooperating with us, you will be supporting the program that you also participated in the preparation, and you will also be a watchdog, saying, no, please, diplomatically, you know your own language. We are reminding you that you have a plan. Can we please stick to the plan? We want to support this one. And the good thing about this time is that the president has decided it is not just going to end at the level of the government approval. It is going to be approved by the parliament, which means that the final vision and the LTP documents will be legislated, so that you don't just come out from nowhere and say, I'm not going to implement. You have to implement it because it is part of the law, and the parliament is very happy with that one. So that's the process. And we have ensured that we draw a broader political consensus, which is why we have met political parties on several occasions. And even the evaluation process, we started with all the 19 political parties, and I'm very happy on that day they sent very senior leaders from the political parties. All parties were there. including my own party, CCM. They sent a very senior, all the opposition, the main opposition was there, and we have agreed within the political arena that let us not disagree on the destination. We have a destination, we know that we are going to Mwanza, we shall only debate on how we reach Mwanza, so that when we go to our voters, CCM says, I will take you there by airplane. Another party says, I will take you there by bus, the other by train, but the destination is the same, so that we don't confuse our people. We have agreed as political parties, that is how we are going to approach our things, and we have agreed that this year's election manifestos are going to be based on the vision. We shall be debating on how to realize this one. I think that is, we are grateful that the consensus is being drawn nationally by various stakeholders, including the political parties, which are very, very important in this regard. So, if we still have some 2 more hands, I will be able to pick them up. So one here, please, let the mic up one.
Thank you. Sorry for coming back in again, but I just wanted to mention one point that I think hasn't come up so far, but it links to Jaika's point, that under the implementation section I found really excellent text about the delineation of the roles between government and private sector, and I thought that that could usefully actually go earlier in the document when you're talking about a vibrant private sector. But what I didn't see in the implementation section was the role of civil society in monitoring, evaluation and implementing, in providing evidence, where earlier in the document you had excellent text about independent civil society and the value of it. So I was wondering, one of our favourite bits of the document were the principles, and I was wondering if you might consider under the principles having a principle of drawing on sort of everyone's comparative advantage in the country, so that it's not seen as, you know, it's primarily government implementing with government evidence and officials, you know, that it's a national document using all the capacities in the country, that might be usefully reflected under your principles. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think, Susan, you had the additional comment, right? I saw your hand.
An additional?
No. Okay, so before I wind up, should I welcome Balozi Jenny Olanga, who brought all of you here? Please go to the podium and say this. Yeah. You know.
Asante, Mheshimiwa Waziri. I thought I'm just appearing for the pictures out there. I was not. So I think first I should really commend and appreciate the work of the National Planning Commission. First, by preparing such an excellent document. Otherwise, this meeting would have been probably trashing the document if it was not as good. So really, I want to appreciate, but also for collaborating with us to bringing you here. But number 2, to really appreciate yourselves, the Relevant Partners Group, for making time. Early on in January, some of you probably just came back yesterday or 2 days ago, and with a short notice of being here, of course, apologies, we had to do last-minute change of time, and some of you probably couldn't get the notice in time. So asanteni sana. But thirdly, and more importantly, to really, really appreciate the minister. It's not always you get the minister opening, moderating, responding, and takes time to really listen to all of you. And he has not done that only for us, but for every stakeholder group. He was saying this morning there's also a parallel session going for civil society, and he was saying, I really wish I could also be there. And he was asking, has it ended or is it still going on? Like you could see in him and feel like maybe from here would run into the civil society. So in exercises like this high-level commitment and political commitment of the minister is quite important. So I really want us to really appreciate the minister for the role and his openness to really engage with us, not only this morning, this afternoon, but also in the coming weeks and months. So naomba tumshukuru, we should really I appreciate the role. I think, otherwise, looking forward to getting your inputs within the next 1 week. Please feel free to either coordinate directly with the acting executive secretary, or if you want, and I'm sure he will provide his details, and anything that we can do as Foreign Affairs to support your work, let us know. Asante sana.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I don't have much to say, just to thank you for the contribution that you have done. I think you made us very comfortable, because at the beginning we were thinking what we are going to say, and as Balozi said, we were a bit worried maybe you are going to crash the document. But your comment, actually, they have confirmed what the citizens of this country are thinking. But you have given us additional information in terms of improving some of the sections. And you have also provided us with new inputs that are going to strengthen the document. So we are sure that when we start the implementation of the vision a year from now, it is going to be a smooth process. So I take this opportunity to thank you very much for that. You can submit your comments, written comments, through the email that we are using at the moment at the Planning Commission. So the general one is just write ES, the abbreviation of Executive Secretary. So ES@planning.go.tz. ES@planning.go.tz. So that is the general email. It will go straight to the Executive Secretary, who will forward the same to the team, which is drafting the vision. With those remarks, let me thank you again and welcome the Minister for closing remarks. Thank you very much.
So, Susan, I know I did not prepare you, but on behalf of your colleagues, can you please just make your final remarks, this time on behalf of your colleagues, and this time around using the podium. Sort of hijacking you.
No, thank you very much. Very effective ambush. But I think on behalf of all of my colleagues, as we said in the beginning, we truly appreciate this consultation. I think the comments were overwhelmingly in support of the solidity of the document. There were some comments, of course, of where we thought maybe you should consider some things improvement, but generally we all consider this document very solid. And also, I think we recognize, as you mentioned, the process, that this has really gone through an extensive consultation process. And so this is a document that truly can be a national document for the United Republic of Tanzania. So I think we're all looking forward to the next steps. We will endeavor to give you those comments, of course, in a week. So we will see how we do that and make sure that you do get them within the week. But most important, as you yourself said, is what happens a year from now, after the document is launched, and that operationalization. And you mentioned that there's a parallel process in place where you're looking at the operationalization, and that you will reach out to us as development partners to see how we feed into that. And I think we're all eagerly looking towards that, because that's really the meat in terms of how we make sure that we all get to Vision 2050. But congratulations. As you yourself have heard from all the colleagues here, congratulations really on the work that has been done to produce the draft that we do have, and all best wishes for the next steps. And we're all committed to supporting the government in our various capacities as best as we can for the achievement of that vision. Thank you.
Thank you. see how good these ambush speeches can be. So, I mean, just final thank yous to thank you very much once again for coming, but as the acting ES said, for your very kind comments on appreciating the document, but particularly much more importantly, on the additional comment that you made, on the areas that we can improve, and I want to promise you that we take those ones very seriously. I see, for example, the issue of demographic dividend probably is not coming out very strongly, and we shall consider that one very, very, very keenly, because to us that is critical given our demographic profile. But also I note very interestingly that we should not actually, I think this was coming from UNICEF, we cannot lump together this aspect of youthhood. I think the youth group is very big. We have to be very clear in terms of children and youth. I think that will help us a lot, because 76% of our people are below, I think, 35 years. But even within that, we can actually do a little bit of analysis there. I also appreciate very much the fact that on everything we say, data should be considered. I think, and we have plenty of data. We can use it in the document. Otherwise, I think the implementation is going to be key. It is one thing to have a good document, and I've had a couple of colleagues in Africa praising us. You Tanzanians are very good at producing very good documents, but your problem is not really having good plans. You have to implement. So that is going to be key, which is why I'm so keen to ensure that the operational document comes out as quickly as possible, because that is the one which is going to guide us. But within the National Planning Commission this time around, the President was very clear. She right away formed, as she established the Planning Commission, she also established 3 departments. One of them is exclusively responsible for monitoring and evaluation. Dr. Linda is here, and she's hearing you. She was part of the BRI team. She'll be the one to ensure that we implement what we have planned. I think this is going to be very key going forward. So otherwise, once again, thank you very much. I will also be very happy you have been given the email address. I will be very happy to see your comments even by myself. So my assistant will give you my business card. That email address is a very active one. I read every day in the morning before I start doing anything else. I will be very happy to see your comments to ensure that we follow them through. And I'm sure comments in the written form are going to be even much more, sharper and stronger, and they can help us to ensure that we produce a document that you will be happy to support us in its implementation. Asanteni sana, God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah.